what we are perceiving as our reality then becomes a judgment by us, and then we derive our emotional position, emotional state, based on that input stimulus. And therefore, because everybody has a different background, they see everything differently. Some people are offended by the same thing that someone else is laughing at. And the truth is then, what the reason for all of this is because you can create infinitude of experiences and learning and expansion. And all of our collective emotional states feed an Akashic record that makes the universal creator more intelligent. It's like an AI. But there's nothing artificial about it. It's the way the universe has always been. Us creating AI is actually us mimicking what the creator did with us.
As above, so below.
That's right. So that's why I don't even like to call it AI. Yeah, and obviously there's a lot of bad things that will happen with AI. But there's a lot of bad things that happen with the creation of the universe. It's all about our perception. It's all about the context. It's like we think duality sucks. And duality can suck. Suffering can suck, for sure. But once we have the context of why we're suffering, I can deal with the traffic of LA as long as I know that there's a payback on the other side of arriving at LA. If I'm just stuck in traffic and I don't even know what I'm going to and why I'm going there, that's hell. But as long as I understand that there's a payback, I'm going to see friends up there. It's going to be great to see them. I don't want to miss out on that. Or I got to do a podcast, and it's a very important podcast that I got to do. And I'm going to share something that's going to be critically important for me and for maybe others. Then all of a sudden, the context shifts, and I don't mind the ride up to LA. Follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with, we think of the square root of 2 is the infinite aspect of the number 2. You could say the number 2 is a compression of an infinite data set that is in its square root. Or if I was looking for your spirit, the numerical representation of your spirit, and I wanted to know, okay, what's Emilio's spirit? I would take the square root of Emilio, and the square root would be your spirit. And then that number squared by itself creates your avatar form, your body.
So we all have an individual number.
Oh yeah.
Do you know yours?
Yes, I do.
How did you come to that?
The way you solve it is directly tied into gene keys. But the way you solve it is you take your birthday, you take your name in Gematria, and the place of your birth in simple Gematria. Gematria is just to assign a number to a letter. So the letter A is the number 1. The letter B is the number 2. All the way up until, 26. So basically that's what's called simple Gematria. So you find your number of your birthday, you cube that number for the third dimension, and then you take its reciprocal value. And the reciprocal value will have a very long number in it. And very likely, if you take the cube, right, of your number, and then you end up taking it to the nearest prime number. Right, so the cube of your number, take it to the nearest prime number, and then take the reciprocal of that value, will create a number with a repetition cycle in it. That repetition cycle is called a period. So it's like the number 7 is prime. So 0.142857 is the cycle. Same 6 digits repeat infinitely. So it's 0.142857, and then 142857, 142857 infinite. So it literally makes a sine-cosine relationship in that way. Okay? That's a wave. You also have a wave. Your wave becomes your life path, your past and your future. And until the moment you realize that there's a pattern within it, you don't know that there's a pattern. This is a karmic cycle. It's literally in your stars and it's in your number. The karmic cycle is a repetitive cycle. You can break out of that karmic cycle and become golden ratio. And that's another math equation. And the way you do that is you have to go through a hero's journey. The hero's journey cuts you in half. It makes number, there's a different golden ratio. And what makes a golden number? What makes a number golden, you know?
No.
I'll teach you. So let me share screen here. Okay, so we got a calculator here, right?
Yeah.
So phi is golden. You've heard that before, right? The golden ratio is phi or phi as it's pronounced. The way you derive that is you take the square root of 5, right, plus 1, and then divide it by 2. 1.618. It's also Fibonacci. That's the ratio in Fibonacci. Right. So what's interesting is if I take the reciprocal value, that's just 1 over this value, something strange happens with only this number. I take the reciprocal value, look what happens.
It's the other way around.
That's right. It's the same number, but it's missing the 1. It's the only difference. 618-033-9887-49895. 033-9887-49895. Seems like, wow, that's some hocus pocus. Well, actually it's not hocus pocus. That's exactly what is a black hole and a white hole. Hole in space-time, for consciousness to peer through on both sides of a mirror of absorption and reflection, is exactly this mathematics. That's what makes it so special. So the 1 could be the backdrop of space, or this is simply the mirror of our consciousness. See, in our world around us is a world with 1 plus a number and a world 1 minus the numbers on the other side. You can say this is conscious versus subconscious or unconscious mind. You follow me?
Yeah.
So, but I can't do this with other numbers, right? 7, take its reciprocal, it's not even close. It's not similar at all. Or if I take another number like 13, take its reciprocal, a pattern in here? Yeah, there is. Look, something interesting. 0.076923, 076923. See the repetition pattern. It'll go on and on like this. But then if I choose any number, right, I can't make those numbers golden. How can I make a number golden? Well, it says something about having to realize something within itself before it finds its own divinity, its own golden nature, its own golden ratio. So I'll give you an example. So give me a number, any number.
9.
9, okay. So I'm going to take that as 90, just to make it a little easier, right? So 90 will be my number, okay? I'm going to show you the golden ratio for 90. How do I do it? I start by dividing it in half. Just like the hero's journey tends to kick you in the pants, so it cuts you in half in life. So I'm now going to take 45 and I'm going to square that as I start to realize my spirit. Root function, right? I learn how to square myself, so I square myself. And then I get God back into my life. Divinity. Whatever your concept of archetype of God is. So we're going to add back the 1.
God is
so
the
2026. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to take the square root of that number. Now I'm going to add